How much
But
money did you come home with?
$1,000. That was after everything. I come home with $1,000 in 18 hours of playing less than 3 hours. And I was like, okay, I'll figure this shit out. I will figure it out. I'll figure it out.
That give you incentive to learn.
And that's when you said...
And money ain't always that good playing, but, you know.
You said, I think I will have some of that cocaine.
I'll take some more of that cocaine.
Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall.
Hey, welcome to Something in the Water. We're here with my band, the Pine Box Dwellers, or part of us. Jesse Herrin, the artist formerly known as Jesse Herrin. He's got his COVID mask on. And Connor Griffin, Coon Dog Griffin. And me and Uncle Dave.
I'm not in the Pine Box Dwellers. Hold on just a minute. Let me clear something up.
Sometimes you are.
Pine Box Dwellers. This is
extended family.
3/4 of the Pine Box Dwellers. Y'all usually have somebody else. But
you've played some gigs.
I don't know who that guy is.
They come and go.
Yeah.
No,
Jody Parrott.
Yeah, Jody has been the most recent 4th member of the Pine Box Dwellers. We're glad to have y'all.
Glad to be here.
Good.
Awesome.
So, Pine Box Dwellers, for those of y'all that are not familiar with them, is a local Waycross band. Been together since
2013, June 2013, somewhere around there.
Connor's our historian,
timekeeper.
Years.
But it's not been an easy ride, as y'all have been. Y'all have been through some guitar players and drummers.
Nothing worth the wait.
I have a question, Connor. Okay, before we were the Pine Box Dwellers, we were Sean in the 45s. But was that 2013 or when was that?
No, that was 2013. We started as Sean Clark in the 45s.
It was me and you and Sean.
Yeah, and Ashton
was too young to play. Right.
No, I remember joining after Ashton was already.
Me and you and Ashton played out before we had Connor.
Okay, I got it twisted.
And the two things that involved me getting into the mix was there was one time I went to play with you and you at Locos.
At Locos?
Yeah, and I just I sat in with Sean, not even really knowing what I was getting into, but I
was remembering that as Captain Stans.
I also remember recording Connor's band. What were you called? The other guys,
yeah.
And I told Sean then that we were wanting a drummer, something. We needed something.
And by the way, we've known Connor since he was 5.
Yeah.
So
before, we knew Connor before Connor knew Connor.
Yeah, he didn't know he was Connor.
I still don't know me.
He thought he was John Lennon.
But
I've known him longer than everybody in this room because Connor's my son.
Yeah.
See?
You always got to one
Ain't
up
that
everybody.
crazy how
I remember telling you, I recorded them, and I was like, man, he has definitely got something on the drums. He's got this old school feel.
Well, thank you.
He's got this feel for music like we like.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I forget how it happened, but we all connected.
I think Ashton and I were jamming one day, and I want to say you overheard that as well.
That's maybe that was it. That added to what I already heard in the studio with your other band.
Yeah. Somehow it all ended up working out.
I'm glad it did.
And Sean texted me one day and said, "Hey, you want to play? Yeah, you want to play one weekend with us?" And I said, "Sure." And when we went to practice at Jesse's studio, Hickory Wind Studios, I brought my Cajon along, which is what we call the Pine Box, basically. Mm-hmm. It's just an acoustic Latin percussion instrument that's got a hollowed out bass sound at the bottom, and it's got snares at the top. So essentially it sounds like a portable drum set. Mm-hmm. And I started playing that in the practices and getting to know the songs that way. And we would, depending on the venue, get me behind the drum kit for the bigger shows, and when we were in tighter corners, like Locos, which is now Demir Grill or something. Demery Grill, yeah. In those cases, we played the Cajon, but the Cajon got so much of a response that we just decided to cut out the kit altogether.
Yeah, it was the reaction of people of how big and full we sounded with just a Cajon and no drum set.
Yeah.
Because you're killing it like no other Cajon player we've seen, too. That's another thing is you kill it with those brushes. And, yeah, I mean, I've seen some other Cajon players play with them, but I just haven't seen any
like John
play
on
the way
Cajon.
you do on it. It's just different.
Yeah.
And you got this technique where you kind of play backwards, which is cool, too.
Yeah.
You're doing your kick and your snare opposite of what you would on a kit, which is crazy.
I hadn't even read that much into it, Jesse.
You are.
Well,
yeah.
you do know he was born on July 7th, 1993, the same day that Ringo Starr was born.
93? I'm just kidding.
Well,
Who
that
was
makes sense.
Who's
now.
Who's Ringo
backwards
Starr?
drummer too. He was a left-handed drummer. I mean, he was a left-handed person.
Yeah.
But he played his drums set up in a right-handed manner, and when he would do a roll, he would have to start it somehow other than what a right-handed drummer would. I guess with his left hand.
He would lead with his left hand.
He would lead, so it'd be like
Just figure out his own little technique for doing it.
instead of dum dum bada bada. You know.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr was a little backwards, just like you.
Just like you.
I mean, it was unique. He was unique, and he was celebrated for that uniqueness.
Oh, yeah.
93 was the year I graduated.
I'm young.
You say yes, you were born in 93?
Mm-hmm.
Damn,
Now, folks, Ringo was born in 50,
About
40.
40, he was probably born in 39 or 38, actually.
Yeah.
He was the oldest of the Beatles, and I think John may have been born in 40. I don't know. We'll get on with the. This is not history. This is not history of the Beatles
Sure
tonight.
it is. It's whatever.
But we do love the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, I'm sorry. I apologize.
You guys.
I heard a few of their songs, but
This is
it was like,
saying that Connor is my son, and I've known him longer than anybody in this room. I've known Jesse longer than I have you. So that I've known Jesse longer than I have anybody else in this
that's some
room.
Georgia math right there.
Because Jesse is the son of my musical friend who was on a couple of episodes ago, Billy Ray Herrin. Jesse's the son of Billy Ray, and he was born on Dog Hill, where I grew up, and let's see, you were born in
78.
78.
October 78.
Okay. Yeah, I remember
Actually, when I was born, we lived over near where CVS is, over that area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, y'all were in the trailer park.
Yeah, my granny had a trailer park over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then she bought that property on Mount Pleasant or Dog Hill in, I think, if I got this right, and I could be wrong, but I think it was 79, she bought that property.
I was thinking that y'all were living, by that time, y'all were living.
I mean, I was
right
like, I
across
don't even remember living over there. All I remember is Mount Pleasant or / Dog Hill.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact that your daddy and mama lived in a trailer right there to the left of your granny's house.
Well, before that, we lived over by around the corner on Mount Pleasant where Linda's mama lived, my Aunt Linda.
Okay.
In front of that old building that's there now.
Yeah, that's where I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm backwards now.
Yeah. Mount Pleasant Road is in Waycross, Georgia. It's a kind of it's used to be a dirt road when me and Billy Ray was growing up on it, and it's
very short too.
Yeah, it started at one end of City Boulevard, and then it dog-legged real hard to the left and came out on Central Avenue. So it was an L-shaped road, and
shortcut.
When we were growing up, I was not directly across the road from Billy Ray. He was kind of 2 houses down. And that's where I was talking about. Your granny's house was there, and Linda's living in it now. But right next to that, your daddy and mama had a trailer, and I thought that's where you were living when you were born.
That's where I got messed up because I'm thinking of what I remember.
I got you.
Yeah. That's a little further back. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, it can be confusing, folks, because
I've lived in several places on Mount Pleasant,
and everybody's got their own memory.
I'm almost 42, and I've lived at least 41 years that I know of on Mount Pleasant. So, and I've lived in a few places, but it's a very short road, so pretty much the whole road is home.
Yeah, we had some times there, but it's kind of a legendary place for all of us. We kind of refer back to Dog Hill because there was a lot of music that originated there, and a lot of early songwriting took place there. And it's kind of what's neat to me is that it's carried on in the hands of you, and now here y'all are playing music together, just like me and your daddy did back in our day.
It's real cosmic.
It is cosmic.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sean was introduced to me through my nephew, my brother's son, who he kind of grew up on Dog Hill a little bit there too, so. And
yeah, because he was right down the road from us. I mean, literally right down the road from Dog Hill.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the road? What's the name of the road?
Talking about where my parents are. They live on Lark Ridge Road.
Off of St. Isle. Yeah. So I mean, you're like right down the road from us.
Mm-hmm. But even though I didn't even meet you until I was probably 21 or 22.
I know I've said this before, and I don't know if it was in another interview type thing or whatever, but I had heard of you. I was in the music. I was playing music, and you were older than me.
I was a badass, Jesse.
Yeah, you were a badass, and even though I didn't know you, I looked up to you, and I would see you in Flash Foods, which is by your house and by my house in the same general neighborhood. I would see you in there with your red Converse and your damn like kind of weird looking bell bottomish pants on, corduroy, like looking like Kurt Cobain up in Flash Foods, and thinking you were cool as shit. But I didn't know you, and I was kind of afraid to approach you and talk to you because I was younger.
You let down.
And I'd seen you play at Club Sear or something,
Yeah, man.
But it was a few years. It was 2 or 3 years later. I'd been playing a little bit, and I hooked up with you through me and you and Graham. Yeah. Hooked up and started recording with my little 4-track in my trailer.
Yep. And there's another connection. Graham's my cousin.
Mm-hmm. Graham is my nephew that introduced me to Sean. And he was named after, his name is David Graham Griffin. He's named after Uncle Dave and Graham Parsons. And then when Connor came along, me and his mama decided to name him after Graham Parsons. And since my brother had already beat us to Graham, we named this guy Ingram Connor. So it's Graham's original name.
Thank God you didn't name me Cecil.
Well, Graham's original name, first 12 years of his life in Waycross, was Ingram Cecil Connor the
You
third.
make a good Cecil, I think.
And so we just left Cecil out of it entirely and called him Ingram Connor. And since your cousin already had the Graham moniker, we said, well, we'll call him Connor. And people will misspell his name forever.
One thing, looking back on all that is okay, around that time, there was a lot of grunge stuff that was popular.
Around what time?
When me and you kind of hooked up with Graham, there was some grunge stuff popular, but also things were shifting a little bit. And
what year would this have been?
98, 90. Definitely by 98.
97, 98, 99-ish,
Mm-hmm.
between there somewhere. But things were kind of shifting. Like, you had played grunge and stuff like that more prior.
Yeah.
And you were getting into more country and some funk and some old school whatever. My taste was changing, and that's when we all kind of hooked up. And that was, honestly, if you look back, that was the beginning of what we got going on today.
Yeah.
That was the very beginning of the country rock, Americana, all these blends of
our band then, Gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the seed of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in 98 was the year that I had the first annual, what turned into the Grand Parsons Guitar Pulling Tribute Festival, was born in 98 in my backyard. It was just an excuse to get musicians, local musicians, all in one place at the same time. And Gravy was pretty much the opening act. Y'all played from that afternoon. And it wasn't like...
we played too long, didn't we?
No. It wasn't like it wasn't organized at all. It was just very loose. It was like, yeah, come on, man, set up in the backyard and play. And I remember y'all kind of setting up across the
patio.
I do remember one
the
time
apartment side. In a line across the apartment side.
Well, we were at the patio back there. I do remember that. But I thought that was the apartment side.
It was. Y'all were directly in front of it in a straight line across that side. Because, it kind of L shapes right there and comes back across. But I remember we got video of that, of y'all's performance there.
Was that the same year that Connor was a little kid and he played his keyboard?
That was probably when I was doing...
That was probably the next year or let's see, 98, you'd have been 5.
I would have been doing the anthology backing track
6.
for...
it was one of them years you came out there and did... we knew what you could do, and there was, 30 or 40 people in the backyard at the get-together at the party. And we said, we're fixing to blow their minds now. We're going to let Connor sing a George Harrison song, Within You, Without You, off of Sgt. Pepper album, the Indian song. And there was, on the Beatles anthology had come out, and included on the CD was just the music for Within You, Without You. And
the instrumental track,
The instrumental, and we put that on a little CD player out in the backyard, and he walked up there in front of a microphone. We were talking about the thing. He's a little 6-year-old kid, and there was people walking around.
What?
Dude. Did you see that little kid?
That kid's on acid.
No, that
like
was pretty,
some LSD?
That was pretty awesome. But y'all... you have played every Grand Parsons festival since the beginning in some form or another.
Except for this year. I feel weird.
Well, nobody played it this year, but I have. We're not counting this year. We're just going to keep on going.
I wonder how many... I mean, have you played every year?
No, there's been years that I haven't played. But I've put it on every year.
So. Right, you're there every year for sure.
But who, how are we going to do this? Are we going to skip this year and go straight to number 24, or are we going to say that next year is the 23rd?
Yeah, call it the 23rd because
there wasn't a.
Or you could just call it the 24th as a joke. I mean, Traveling Wilburys went from volume 1 to volume 3.
23 and a half.
Anybody that does the math, they're going to say,
well, that was
you lost a year somewhere.
Everybody did. It was
And we'll just
2020.
go, yeah.
You could call it. So what would this year have been?
I'd have to look it up, but I think this year would have been 23 or 24.
So if this year would have been 23, next year you could call it the supposed 23.
But then you'd have to keep that. Somehow.
Yeah, no, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. If anybody out there has any suggestions, be sure to
drop them in the comments below.
Comment below as to how we should deal with this matter of extreme importance. So, Gravy was you, my nephew Graham, Jesse, Will Thrift,
yes.
who is my second cousin, first cousin Tim Thrift's son.
It's a family affair.
Will, and there was a sax player there that year.
Zach Cardwell.
Cardwell. Yeah. Anybody I'm leaving out?
Well, there was a point where Jody played drums. That
was before it was called Gravy.
Okay, well, I guess I'm kind of lumping it all.
But at the beginning
together.
of Gravy, you weren't the bass player. No. It was Jonathan Gibson.
Yeah.
Well, so who was there in '98? Was that the pre-Gravy?
No. Well,
there was a point where I played.
I remember Jody being there one year.
There was a point pre-Gravy. Yeah. Here's the thing.
Will Thrift definitely played that first year.
Yeah. Well, pre-Gravy, I played. We were the Severals, and we were something else, and we were called a couple different things. And then there was a point where I didn't play, and John Gibson played. Y'all come and recorded an album in my studio. And after that, I rejoined at some point, right?
Yeah.
Do I got that right?
Yeah, we were playing all together before Gravy, and then whatever happened, we got Jonathan playing with us.
Yeah.
And Jody left. You and Jody left, and it was like a different thing.
Yeah.
It was me and Will and Jonathan and Graham. And then we went and recorded at your studio like that.
Yeah.
And then
at some point, I forget how it happened, but John quit playing. I started playing with you guys.
Yeah, he quit for some reason.
Because we recorded a few more tracks and kind of meshed them together with some of those tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember Love Another, and there was another one that I had played bass on that was on that album that y'all ended up putting out.
Well, you remember what year that
it's hazy. It's been so long, the timeline.
I think that was 98-ish.
Really? That album was then. Okay.
But now Gravy didn't see the origin of some of the songs we still play today, like School Chicken for sure.
Chicken.
There was riffs and little pieces here and there, and I'm sure you've got lyrics you've pulled from old Gravy stuff too. That it's your stuff, so why not?
Really, only School Chicken is all we do from then. Now,
okay. Now, where did
some riffs here and there? But
yeah.
But not even like main riffs, like little things I did within songs and stuff.
Now, when did Slush Puppy come into the picture? Wasn't that when...
That was before I knew.
That was when I was in high school.
Yeah, that was...
Now, wasn't that when you made the Swamp Star?
Mm-hmm.
That was when Sean was famous to me. And I was like, that man, he's just...
Yeah.
grunge musician in town.
Sean's always been very creative also as an graphic artist. And he was challenged in his first band, Slush Puppy, to come, I think we've talked about this on one of the episodes, to come up with a logo for a 5-piece band.
Yeah, in the early 90s, all the bands had symbols.
Because that ties into us.
Like Red Hot Chili Peppers had...
Yeah, and you were, Slush Puppy was a 5-piece band, and somebody said...
We were 5-piece for like a week.
Draw...
Before we ever even had a practice.
Draw something with question marks.
It's like, make us do something with 5 question marks because there's 5 of us and we'll be mysterious. Gus, that's what Gus Fuller told me.
Anybody have that logo on anything? Well,
I almost wore my shirt with it.
While y'all are talking about it, I can pull it up probably.
A lot of people are just listening. But so anyway, I come up with this thing, and it's not even recognizable as question marks, really, unless you know that. But started using that again. So I just used it for that band, Slush Puppy. And then
it lay dormant for years.
Yeah, it was just, but it was all, even like people, but the fans of Slush Puppy and our friends back then, like they still would bring it back up every now and again, in a post or something, or I carved a pumpkin with it in it or something. But then Gus passed away, and that's when, at that time, I didn't even have a band, and I started using it on my solo flyers, just using it as a memorial to him. And then very shortly after that, we had the Pine Box Dwellers, and we just kept using that. And then
it's kind of like the logo of the Pine Box Dwellers now. Yeah. So Gravy's around 98, kind of breaks up, gets back together again. And then, because it's from 98 to 2013, a haul. That's 15 years.
Well, there was...
So, but then y'all go separate ways and other...
Well, we played some in the early 2000s, right? I mean, like early.
Like with what? With Gravy?
Yeah.
Probably
yeah,
so.
Yeah, we played. We were a band for 3 or 4 years.
So what happened after Gravy with you in this 15-year period?
With me, okay, and I may have some of this out of order. I was married, my first marriage. That ended. I played some before that. Not long before that ended, I was playing with Josh Kirkland Band. We were a trio, and the funny thing is that was the first time I was actually making some money playing. It was hard to make money being an original band anyway. But we were a cover band, but the first time I was actually, okay, I could make a living doing this, and did that for a little bit. And I got into another relationship and got out of playing because of that, kind of, and didn't play for like 5 years. Literally, like, I mean, kind of here and there every great once in a while. My skills went way down. Like, I lost some shit because of that. It really pissed me off. But got done with that. And
when did you start recording? The recording studio.
Oh, I started the studio with a little. Well, I had a 4-track Tascam cassette recorder. And I didn't open for business with that, but I started recording a couple bands I knew. I recorded Igmo or Ig Militia. No, Unearthed is what they were called at the time. Rick Bennett and Jason Lee, and their first incarnation of that band. And the cool thing was that my dad noticed I was getting really good sounds with just a little cassette recorder. They won a battle of the bands. That demo got played on 93.3 in Jacksonville. Sounded really cool over the radio. I was like, man, I'm hearing my little cassette recording over the air, and it sounded so compressed and thick and cool. But so I got a little Yamaha MD8 after that. I believe that was the model.
What
year? 8-track mini disc.
What year was that?
Oh, man, I want to say, and I could be wrong, but somewhere between 99 and 2000 era.
So you started actually doing a little bit of recording, right?
I actually opened right then, and
Millennium.
Had a band or two come in, and was real nervous about that. I was sub-mixing drums through a little mixer and down to like 2 tracks, and I just had a little 8-track to work with, and I did that for a little while, and then I moved up to a Yamaha AW4416, and then moved up to a Roland VS2480, and then finally moved up to Will Thrift, who was in Gravy, the drummer, who moved on to be a very good engineer, worked in Studio Chicago, works up in
Atlanta.
What was the big one called? Doppler in Atlanta. He's got a lot of stuff on his resume. He done really good. And over the phone, he was like several times talking to him. He was like, "Man, you need to move up to computer and software recording." And I was scared because I'm computer stupid. I'm still computer stupid. But he was like, "Man, I'll walk you through it. Get Pro Tools 9 and get this and get that." And so I got some stuff and I started from there. And I got that still in my backyard. I'm working with Pro Tools 9, and I rarely do it, but I just still do some demo stuff. But
when you said computer stupid, I started thinking, we had to take you off of the
I deleted
the Facebook
a bunch
page
of
because he
stuff
started. He's like, "I'm gonna get this stuff off my phone." He's like deleting it off of Facebook. I was like, "Stop!"
Well, hell, it was duplicates of pictures. I thought
he's like deleting all the pictures.
I got too many of them, the same picture. I didn't know because I was administrator that it would actually delete the original. I didn't know that.
Well, the building that you're still in as a studio to this day was the building that me and your daddy cut our songs in.
Yeah, and the rafters to that building.
Y'all were messing around in that building?
Same building.
Yeah, well, I was a kid in the 80s running around pissing them off while they were recording.
I was saying, go jump in the pool with some bricks in your swimsuit.
Me and my sister, there was a band recording one time in that studio. My dad that was part of his living. He had a band in there paying him by the hour.
Well, when did y'all?
And they had all their cars out there. Me and my sister went and stuck sticks in all their keyholes, little tiny sticks.
Oh no!
And like we were just playing. We were little kids. We didn't know we were messing anything up. We were just being stupid. And none of it. Like when the session was over, I remember about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, my dad come in there and jerked me out to bed and whipped my ass like I've never had it whipped in my life, like ever. I don't know if I remember a whipping worse than that. But
wow,
I had pissed a bunch of people off. But my sister didn't get her ass whipped, and she was older, and it was her idea.
Now I remember your dad. I want to say last week when I ran by the store, he told me that the wood or something about it was
the rafters of the studio. He tore down his Sin City Records, which was considered the first tribute to Graham Parsons.
Yeah.
And took that over there as part of the building to build the studio over there.
I had totally forgotten.
Yeah, so what I have over there in my backyard is still part of the original Sin City record
store.
And that was what year?
The rafters. The A-frame rafter part.
Is the store.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 5, probably 75.
I probably have heard that, but I forgot.
That shit is
76.
Probably going to fall apart.
Probably
in the
about
next
76
few years.
when you do that.
But still there.
Yeah. All right. So we know I'm trying to establish a timeline here as far as that missing 15 years from 98 when y'all played in my backyard first Graham Parsons. We pinpointed what all of y'all were doing right around then. You were 5,
I was
6
learning my
years old.
ABCs.
I was married for roughly 8 years during that time.
And musically and everything. And you had a studio. You played in and out of bands. You were growing up. What were you doing right around after 98? And Gravy lasted for about 3-4 years into the early 2000s.
You were the Laney Strickland band when Gravy ended.
No, I wasn't straight in there. I was playing solo a lot, like at Whitfield's and the Creek and wherever. And
the Newfanglers was right on the heels of all that.
Well, I started working at Crosstown Music, but I was playing all these solo gigs. Then I went off and played. I quit Crosstown to go play with Laney because they needed somebody.
Yep.
I played with him for probably 6 months.
Then Laney Strickland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we were playing all over the place. And that was probably my first real working musician job. I mean, because before that, all the, Gravy, we just got anything that we could possibly get. We got paid some here and there, but.
That was your money-making job.
Yeah, so finally I was like, there is actual money in this.
Yeah.
And kind of saw that side of especially at that time, Laney was, he was the top of his game,
Mm-hmm.
and so then after that, we started the Newfanglers project, and but I was still playing solo, but we started writing those songs, and me, you, and Paul got real tight on just hanging out and rubbing off on each other.
Right along about that same time now, 04 or 05, you started Jack Cadillac, didn't you?
Yeah, and then Jack Cadillac, and we were Jack Cadillac for about 10 years.
That was a trio. It was wow.
Started as a trio.
It was. I remember y'all's debut performance was in that little building next to the Ware Hotel.
You were there?
I was there. Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah.
That night? Wow.
Yeah. Wasn't that called Twin Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Me and my wife were both there, and John Pope, who is one hell of a guitar player, was the drummer in that group.
Yeah, he was the best guitar player in the band, but we had him on drums.
And Sean was the guitar player, songwriter, singer, theremin player.
Yeah.
They had a theremin in the group, which was...
I wouldn't say theremin player, theremin noisemaker.
Well, it was
as Reed Bennett likes
pretty crazy and awesome.
Reed Bennett will send me theremin videos of people.
Nephew or cousin?
My cousin.
Brandon Doty, your cousin on bass. And these two kids.
Yeah, they were 18.
They were straight out of high school.
I was 28. They were 18.
That's one thing that I've noticed that Sean has been remarkable about.
They won't let me go around the schools no more.
No, is that you do. You
get out of here.
You and Chris Ryder both did this a lot. Y'all took in the young talent, the
unknown,
unpracticed. Yeah. You would give them a spot, and
something I could feed, something I could teach.
They could learn. They would learn. They would learn on the job, and y'all would encourage them and everything. Y'all have developed them, if anything.
We needed people that could listen to us.
But y'all were good. that Brandon Doty, John Pope, and you, that Jack Cadillac. All right, that lasted till, and y'all did.
Yeah,
y'all went to Texas and recorded.
We were a 3-piece for a couple of years probably, and then got Lee O'Neill and playing the drums.
Lee O'Neill from Brunswick, yeah, good drummer.
And so we all them Statesboro shows and. Macon shows. We even opened up for Jason Isbell on his first time out of the Truckers in Macon, Capitol. Cox Capitol Theater at that time.
And y'all, was it Jack Cadillac that recorded in Texas? Was that Jack Cadillac? I think so.
Yeah. That was, and that's when we got, we couldn't get Lee to go to Texas. Yeah. So
another young,
we grabbed
who was still in high school.
Yeah, Dylan Crosby, I think he was 17. We took him out there. And what was crazy is he could play all the hard songs or the complicated songs, but the slow tempoed 4 on the floor songs, there wasn't enough going on for him. and we only, when I'm talking about, we only had a week with him. Like, you're going with us. Like, we need a drummer.
Learn this.
And so we threw a lot at him at one time. But when we got out there, and they had Jamie Oldacker, who just passed away.
Yeah. Jamie Oldacker was the drummer for Eric Clapton on all of Eric Clapton's.
And Bob Seger. And
461 Ocean Boulevard.
He played
on tour with him,
He played on Ed Sullivan at 16.
So you got to meet a legendary drummer.
I had no idea who he was. And they're like, oh, we got you a drummer that can play whatever he can't play. And I was like, are you sure? Because we're coming a long way.
Are you sure?
Like, what?
All right. So,
Jamie, who?
So what year was Jack Cadillac? Well, it ended up being, y'all strove to get to a certain level, and it was decided at some point that John Pope and Brandon Doty, if you weren't at a certain level by such time, they were going to go on and get their education.
Right.
Yeah,
Or something
I mean,
like that.
those guys were becoming adults and had went to college during the time we were playing together. And then they're like, well, I'm through college and we're still not doing anything. So, they just, they got married and
kind of slowly
got into their own careers and stuff, but still really good players, both of them. And we have played some since then. I think that probably would have wrapped up around, as far as us being a band playing every weekend, that probably, I was 28. I was probably around 38 because I think we were like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
2013, 2012, 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all play the Swamp Town Get Down? Originated in 2011.
Yeah, they did play at least the first two, I believe, right?
But at that point, I think it may have not been.
It was just
Jack
you
Cadillac
putting bands together.
It was me putting bands together, calling it Jack Cadillac still. And it was probably John. It may have been Brandon. And it may have been all of them. I can't really remember. But I know that there was some years that I was the only original member.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, one year we had Dylan on guitar, Dylan Crosby, and Jody Parrott on bass, and Jason Lee on drums. With Swamp Town.
I think that was actually right after I joined Sean and the 45s. And I think y'all said Jason Lee, y'all had already booked him for that Swamp Town, so I couldn't play that first one with y'all. It was either that or the Creek Revival or one of those festivals.
All right, so we're kind of up to speed on you. Now, you were in high school in the drum line in the marching band.
Yeah, starting in 2009.
Yeah, and
08,
when
09.
you had a high school band, because I'll never forget y'all jamming in your bedroom upstairs, and it sounded rough.
Yeah, at first.
And but the beauty of it is I was able to sit down there and hear it progressing and get to the point where it was like, oh,
they're doing something.
I heard it go from just
did it make you remember?
It made me remember myself, because I know that I pissed your daddy off when he taught me my first chords on the acoustic guitar, and I was out there framming. And with anything, it's going to take a little while, and then all of a sudden, when it all the scales fall away from your eyes, and you can see. And you move right into that next level. And I remember that happened. The Other Guys was the name of it, and it was like a trio to begin with.
Well, in the beginning, it was me, Jody Rollins, and Tyler Merritt.
Yeah.
And then later on, Caleb Lee joined as the bass player.
That's right.
And we were all high school buddies that grew up together. And,
but the three-piece, I recall, one of y'all's first gigs was at the
Ware
County Junior High School.
Yeah, we played a Christmas pageant. We were like the halftime
and let's see,
entertainment.
You didn't have but about 3 songs, and one of them was something about
Take 5 by the Dave Brubeck
Take 5 by
Quartet.
Dave Brubeck, which blew my mind.
Wow.
The other one was something about milk.
Something about milk. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there was a group. The name of the group is. Do you remember the other songs?
I know we played All My Loving, a really fast All My Loving by the Beatles.
That third one was something with the group's name was Milk.
I know Milk Carton Kids.
No.
Dead Milkman.
Airplane Over the Sea, Neutral Milk Hotel. That's what it was.
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah. And that's...
Drink more milk.
Yeah, that was a good little experience there. And then
Then you added Caleb, and
that's when we took to the Ritz Theater in Brunswick.
But y'all were writing originals by then.
Right. We had...
That's what... Well, you played some covers there, too. I was there at that one too, and it was a battle of the bands or a talent show or something like that.
You told me a story about that, and I'm not going to name any names.
Oh,
You said that a certain somebody come up to you with kind of an ego.
Yeah. And I can't remember who it was now, but
I know who it was, but I'm not going to say. But,
okay,
anonymous.
But talking about
there was
them,
the thing was the Battle of the Bands was held in Brunswick at the Ritz Theater, an old movie theater downtown Brunswick, and there was a lot of Waycross bands involved in it too because it was a pretty serious cash prize. I think it was like $500 or $600.
$5 or $6.
And I don't know. It went on and on and on and on, and then it came time for the judging, and I'll never forget them calling out y'all's names. Y'all were so excited.
Yeah,
and just ran down the aisle to the front, and
right before they announced us, I looked at Jody and I said, "I'm just gonna go home. There's no way."
You told me, I'm not gonna say who, but prior to knowing who was gonna win, this person that was in another band, that we all kind of know, said something about they're gonna show these kids something to that effect. You told me that there was a lot of posing going on.
There's a lot of ego.
Show these kids what it's all about.
Yeah, there was a lot of egoism going on, but they were good. I mean, I'm telling you that y'all. I can't remember what you started with that day. I think it was another Beatles song.
Probably "All My Lovin'."
May have been.
Just that was like a staple at the time.
But then y'all did. I can't remember if y'all played any originals that day, but y'all did eventually get into original music, and the other guys didn't you?
Yeah, and Jody and Tyler were the main force behind those originals.
Okay.
I wrote one song, which was called "Autumn Wind," and we paired that with a guitar riff that Tyler had come up with. He's been sitting on that for, I want to say, a year or two. And they saw the lyrics to my song, and they just said that would go perfect with this. And we, I don't know what kind of, that was more of a, I remember
y'all had a good
to,
sound, though.
yeah.
I remember that. It was, there was some of it. Tyler's guitar playing was very Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, they impressed me when they come into the studio to record.
You had a good mixture.
Y'all came in there a couple times.
Styles in that band.
And before I forget, Jacob Evans joined after Caleb Lee did, and he only played. He played several gigs with us, but in that time, kind of like what you did with Gravy, we only got what we got. Whether we were paid or what have you. We only had about maybe.
You mean playing backyard parties and?
Yeah, just
come play this restaurant for free.
Yeah. We only had about maybe 10 to 15 gigs as the other guys, and Jacob, when he came on board, he played the trumpet, and that actually added a lot to it. But I remember he only played. He maybe played half of the gigs with us, and then other times, he was doing something else, but that really added a lot to it.
Didn't y'all do that old song from my generation by King Harvest?
Oh, Dancing in the Moonlight.
Dancing in the Moonlight.
Yeah, that was Jacob's, one of his favorites.
And y'all also covered the Zombies. Time of the Season.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. And then House of the Rising Sun, we went full The Who. Like Jody was toppling the drum set over, and
so I got y'all to play. The other guys played Swamp Town, like probably 2011 and 2012, and at both years, y'all got carried away on.
That's what I was laughing. I was like, yeah.
I was wondering if that was going to come up.
Yeah.
On
House of the Rising
Sun.
Sun.
Of the Rising Sun, when it ended with a big finish, and the lead singer just would drop the mic. You know how they say, drop the mic.
Not that mic.
Our good friend Paul Lee was the sound man. And he came to me with that look on his face both years in a row. The second year, it was actually magnified. And he said, either you tell them or I tell them. They ain't coming back again. If he keeps dropping that mic, they're not coming back. But anyhow, the band broke up after that. So here we are. We're finally caught back up. We're finally caught back up now. Connor graduated high school in 2012.
Yeah. Jesse got out of prison.
Jesse was in his 9th marriage by then. And no, wait. Sean was in his
dark phase. It's a dark period.
So
it's a walk hard line.
So we've covered from 1998 all the way up to 2013 and filled in the missing blanks, the missing blanks. And so you had Sean in the 45s. As a kind of like knocking around.
We were looking for a name, and we're like, that sounds cool.
Because it's then like we 45 records?
Yeah, like 45 records.
Yeah.
Lasted for about 45 minutes.
We weren't scary enough to be 45 caliber, but we found out there was a band in Atlanta, apparently, that called the 45s, and they had like 7 albums. So we were like, well, we got to jump off that. And we kept fooling around. I wanted something with the pine box because he played the Cajon. I was like, that's a good.
Well, the reason for that is because we started out as more of him playing drums at gigs.
Right.
And just using Cajon here and there when we needed to.
Right.
But that turned into a thing.
So it was the actual Cajon that inspired the name.
Right.
Not the other way around.
Right.
You didn't come up with a name and then decide to get a Cajon player.
You know, because he was going to play Cajon. He would play Cajon sometimes. He'd play drums sometimes, according to what we had to do. And the Cajon became the star almost. Like people were like, "What is that?" And how? I mean, now you see them everywhere, but at the time it was like, "What the hell?"
And I got to admit, and y'all know this. In the beginning,
you didn't want.
I was not really for Cajon all the time because
I forgot
as
about
a bass player. I missed a drum kit.
Yep.
I missed rocking out with a drummer, you know.
Well, you got
but
that.
It developed, and finally over time, it was like, it just something changed.
It's a
minimalist
approach. Yeah. Caveman stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I like about
it. So the first Pine Box Dwellers gig was where? The Creek?
I think
probably.
So. Yeah.
One of our local restaurant bars.
Creek.
It was the Creek, and then the next weekend. See, I thought it was like a one-time thing. Because Sean, you text me saying like, "Hey, buddy, you want to play with us this weekend?"
Hey,
I said,
"Hey, bud."
Sure. You know, like I was excited.
You want
like cheese sandwiches?
Hey, and then next weekend rolled around and said, "Hey, buddy, you want to play with us this weekend?" I'm invited back. Okay.
It's a trap.
And was that where the current creek is?
Yeah. It was LL Creek where it's at right now.
Okay. LL Creek.
But the next weekend was Albany. There were 3 dates in Albany, which was...
Hey, can you stay out of town for a couple of days?
Yeah. Harvest Moon.
Oh, no. I'll have to ask my daddy.
Yeah. Harvest Moon and Austin's Fire Grill, I believe it was. And maybe Locos, too. But
was that
I was
time?
just...
That's what I was about to
was
ask.
That
was that the Axl Rose moment?
No, this was way before.
Okay.
I mean, I think this was the first time, one of the first times I met Mike Phippen.
I would think this was too early for that moment.
Killer.
Yeah.
Killer Mike.
But that was the first time I literally felt like I was on tour. Because I'd never done anything like that before.
And you was making money.
Yeah,
See,
I was making money
y'all
too.
had your moments when you hit that level, and y'all
I realized like
gave the nod to somebody. Josh Kirkland,
you know what's
Laney Strickland,
funny?
Sean Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Quick short story. The first time I made money, first weekend, I played with Josh. He asked me to play with him. He gave me 2 weeks to learn like 50 songs. and I didn't really learn them all. I did the best I could, and I made some flubs. But I went out that weekend, and it was hard. In 18 hours, we had 3 gigs in Florida at festivals. They were all like 45-minute to an hour sets, but it was all within 18 hours. All 3 of these gigs in different places in Florida. My first weekend out, ever actually working, making money, playing. And by the end of it, I was so beat and so discouraged because I had messed up so many songs, and but they were like, "Oh, it's cool, man. You just started. You're learning them."
How much
But
money did you come home with?
$1,000. That was after everything. I come home with $1,000 in 18 hours of playing less than 3 hours, and I was like, "Okay, I'll figure this shit out. I will figure it out. I'll figure it out."
That give you incentive to learn.
And that's when you said,
And money ain't always that good playing, but
you said, I think I will have some of that cocaine.
I'll take some more of that cocaine.
I'll have some of that, Josh Kirkland.
And we were a trio, so splitting the money 3 ways equally was like, there's not a 4th and a 5th person there.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
That's why we're kicking Jody out.
He's fired.
That's why we're kicking Jody's fired.
He don't want to do the press stuff. Then
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, we was talking about Jody Parrott. Well, we're not going to get into Jody Parrott quite yet. So at this point, y'all were a 4-piece, and the guitar player in the band was Ashton Herrin, your nephew and Billy Ray's grandson. Kind of like a child prodigy on lead guitar. And he was in the band. Let's see, y'all recorded over the years. You probably recorded about 3 or 4 CDs, or more, possibly.
not anything we had printed up, but we would.
We recorded a lot, but it was just
we would go in and record the same songs over and over, trying to get better recordings.
And I like
plan to do an album and not finish it, and then we would plan and we'd restart and not finish it, and then we would.
But then, in a sense, y'all were using that time and with the availability of your studio,
free studio,
you could practice and record at the same time and really nail those original songs down. So let's see. At some point in time, it's not working out with Ashton anymore, and
who came immediately after?
Will Gore.
Will Gore stepped in as not a permanent member.
Yeah, we had a few people here and there that would sit in.
UGS.
This was a little bit after all that.
When did you head off to UGS?
That was the beginning of 2017 into 2016.
2016?
The beginning of 2017, so like January 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were with the band 3 full years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then Connor decides to
skedaddle,
to go to University of Georgia up in Athens, and okay, you had been going to the local Waycross college and got your 2-year
Associates,
degree.
yeah.
And you wanted to go on and get your bachelor.
Yeah.
And
that didn't happen.
And I remember that causing a lot of consternation in the band, because you had, in fact, the name was derived from the cajon that you played. How could you leave?
We knew we couldn't find somebody else to do what he did.
With another cajon.
I called a lot of
how could it be the Jimi Hendrix experience without Jimi Hendrix?
I got mad at him.
Now we're just
I know. I remember. I remember.
I had to talk you down through text.
I was like, I ain't your friend no more.
I had to talk to y'all and say, listen, guys.
Education.
And here I am, a busted down songwriter, musician. That's all I ever did. I didn't get no higher education, but I wanted my son to do what he had to. Yeah. And anyhow, you went off to college early 2017, replaced by Dylan.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean,
Dylan Crosby.
/ Lee.
Yeah.
No.
And they kind of alternated and filled in.
It got to where Dylan could do more gigs than Lee.
I think we got Lee to begin with.
Lee was playing, but Lee plays with like 7 bands.
Yeah,
so he's a working musician.
He could do these songs or these gigs, but not these gigs. And then we finally got a hold of Dylan, and he could do all of them.
And there was a lot of gigs that Lee was booked for, but Dylan was like, well, I could do those too. So we're like, well, it makes no sense to go back and forth when we got one guy that can do all the gigs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was putting us in a position of,
shifting styles every gig.
We would have to play the songs different with each drummer just because of the different ways they would play the songs. And that was keeping us all over the place. And so we finally honed in on Dylan could do the gigs, and so we played with him until that didn't work out. And I guess
now did Ashton leave prior to while Connor was up at UGA?
Yeah, he did, and then
there was a few times of him kind of coming back for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Who'd y'all get in
and leaving?
Will
Jamie
Gore played with us. Will Gore played with us.
I know you've
from
always
Bonnie
had
Blue.
some fill-ins, like John Pope was very good about
We had
coming
John
in.
Peavy for a little while there.
Yeah.
played
That
with
was
us.
prior
Well,
to
right
you.
before I left was Jamie.
Jamie Moore.
Really?
Jamie Moore,
Yeah, because we went and recorded in Nashville with Jamie.
Yeah.
And that was right
That
before
was
you
before
left.
college.
Yeah.
Because when we went to
Yeah.
House of David and recorded, that was Jamie Moore.
That was House
was
of
in
David
Nashville.
Studios in Nashville, Tennessee.
Mhm.
A legendary
that was fun.
place.
Yes.
That was a good
I
time.
was up there. I went up there for one of the sessions.
It was. I mean,
Y'all
after
had done-
we
it
had
was
laid
the
down
same.
the
It was the
basic
same
tracks.
group of songs that we were recording, but you didn't. You went up there to do the background vocals.
on the song, and
I had a few other friends do a few
Just one
other
song?
tracks on there.
it was
You sang
For
on
free?
other things that I think
For
didn't
free.
end up on the album.
Scotty.
and I got sick
and
on the way up there. I can remember that.
Josh
My voice,
Sharp.
and I was drinking herbal teas and doing everything I could to just get something out of my mouth. But the studio, House of David, actually, they had a secret door where Elvis could come and go.
It was
right?
David Briggs that
David
owned it
Briggs,
and
who
built
was
it.
Neil
Keyboard-
Young's
and Elvis's keyboard player.
producer, David Briggs.
He did. I know he did some producing for
Or
Neil
manager.
Young.
Was
I don't know
producer?
exactly. I know he definitely produced for him. I don't know how long that lasted.
The old
the
machine
the
sitting
real-
in the hallway there was what Harvest was recorded. on.
Yeah, there was the
Yeah.
actual old
Album.
24 track or whatever, reel to reel, sitting there that Harvest was tracked on, and I got to touch it. I laid my hand on it, was hoping for it would transfer some kind of something into
Well,
me.
It must have done something because that's didn't you release your solo album shortly after that?
Nah, it was before that.
well.
That's why it wasn't that good.
No, Hawkins was good.
It's
We'll get
okay.
into that in a little
See,
bit.
my
but,
next one might have some of that mojo in it, though. I don't know. I'm working on that.
So Ashton was replaced with what's his name?
Will Gore,
Well, it wasn't replaced, but we had just fill-ins with Will Gore,
John
Pope,
And
and then we got a permanent member
What
with
was his
John
name?
Peavy,
Oh,
played
Yeah.
slide guitar.
well, that was after Jamie, right?
Jamie was permanent for a minute.
okay, so yeah.
For
so
a little-
I'm sorry.
little while
It was,
there,
it was
Jamie.
Ashton,
All out of order.
Will,
Yeah, we had-
then Jamie,
then Jamie
and
Moore.
then Ashton kind of came back for a little bit on certain gigs,
Did he?
right?
Yeah.
Because this was when I was at UGA.
There was a moment because if you remember,
I think we're just running in the mud with this.
it really is all over the place. We've had so many people sit in
was-
and not play with us, and then play with us.
Here's the point, the takeaway from all this. Pine Box Dwellers has had its share, like I said at the beginning, has had its share of drummers and guitar players.
Yeah.
And another testament is, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging on Sean so much, but another testament to Sean is that he's always, you know, I mean, you lose a wheel on the bandwagon, and usually it's going down. Mm-hmm. They never went down. it was always, they would always resilient. They always find somebody to come in,
Show
fill
must
the
go
void.
on.
The show must go on, and it kept rolling.
The lights must stay
Until-
on.
It kept rolling until it's ended back up with 3 of the original members.
Yeah.
Me and Sean
Connor
stayed in it
finally-
the whole time, but
Connor
Came
finally came home from college. I don't remember exactly what year that was. 17, 18.
2018, yeah.
All right, 2018, and it was like, I'm back, and the boys in
yeah.
the boys in the band, they got back
Whoops.
together. So you had these 3 guys back together again.
That was the sound.
Was it John Peavy at that point?
It was John Peavy.
Okay.
And
John Peavy,
But he was
another-
John Peavy was already in the band when you came back.
Yeah. He's a talented guitar player
Because
from
John played some while Dylan was in the band.
Valdosta, North Florida area, and he ended up not working out. And y'all worked a little bit with Michael and Boney,
yeah.
a young female violinist, slash
Mandolin,
oh,
violin,
God,
anything with
mandolin,
strings.
violin,
Multi-instrument.
guitar, songwriter, singer.
Jack of all trades kind of thing.
She's a
Talent.
Jackie of all trades.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful little girl who's just really cut her teeth from Claxton, Georgia, in the entertainment industry, and she is going places now. But she worked with y'all for a little bit, and so after John Peavy left, was that immediately Jody at that point?
Pretty much, right?
I know Jody come in and was like, I could do some gigs here and there, and it just kind of dwindled into more and
In the
more
beginning,
gigs.
it was Jody and Pope, whoever could do the gig.
Yeah,
So here we are now.
Also,
with
we did
Jody.
some stuff with Josh Sharp
that's right.
Yep.
We can't forget Josh Sharp. Yeah.
and John Wills, and
There was a little period with John
Adam
Wills there.
Poulin.
John
I mean, but
Wills, yeah.
those were
John
never
Wills
permanent
was
members.
the
There was just like people who
saxophone
sat
player.
in on stuff.
Right.
Adam Poulin or Scotty Nicholson.
Yeah, John Wills was from Albany, and whenever we would play Albany shows, he would
Come
be
out.
so eager to sit in with us. He played saxophone, keyboards.
Amazing.
You talk
Yeah,
about an
he's-
awesome dude. This dude had
Yeah.
kidney failure from the age of 15 or 16. Was on dialysis from the age of 15 or 16 to the age of 30 or 31. I forget. He passed away. But hardcore, he would go, 3 times a week? He went to dialysis.
2 or 3 times a week.
I think it was 3. It was 3 times a week, and he would some days he would be at
Come in front,
dialysis,
and then
leave
come to the
dialysis,
gig.
and meet us 2-3 hours away at a gig,
Yeah,
and play that gig, and then go back home,
Yeah.
for $100.
and never fussed about any of that. Like you
Yeah.
never heard him complain about any of that. He was a music teacher. He had like this studio music school. He was part of the Levy in Albany. Really cool dude. Really
Such a good guy.
Really genuinely good person, awesome musician.
He had
Very,
perfect
very
pitch, too.
missed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I remember when that happened. That was sad, sad days, right there when we lost him. Another one of the musicians y'all missed was Josh Sharp,
Yeah.
Waycross boy, who, out of the clear blue, decided that he was going to tackle the steel guitar,
And he tackled it.
which, ladies and gentlemen, the steel guitar is no easy task.
Yeah. My
It's-
favorite instrument that I'm the most scared of.
Somebody, I've heard people talk about it. They said it's like I forget who it was. Some famous musician, said that he set it up initially. He set it up in his bedroom, and when he'd wake up, he'd look over there, and he said it'd be like a lion sitting there waiting to pounce on him. Somebody called it like flying a jet plane with your knees and your feet, because it's tricky. I mean, it's got a
there's
lot of
foot
strings,
and
and there's
knee levers.
levers that your knees mash,
I call it the sad machine.
and there's pedals that you have to mash to make it alternate tunings, and
Here comes that boy with the sad machine.
Here comes Josh Sharp, who knew how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
He could play the 6-string guitar, but he decides that he wants to learn how to play the steel, and by God, he did. And he did a mighty fine job of it. But fast forward, he decides to get out of the nightclubs and bands and pursue his goal of education. He becomes
I think the whole time he was pursuing that, he was just, at the same time, he was learning music and different instruments and playing and getting his education and learning all at the same time. And then it just, he went on with his journalism.
He gets a degree and moves to Atlanta and starts to work with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution as a staff writer. And just this year, he actually
he broke a major case.
There was a case that dated back probably into the 80s.
Yep.
Murder in South Georgia or North Florida. Where was the church?
It was
at?
in Camden County.
All right, so it was South Georgia. A black couple was murdered.
The preacher and his wife in the church.
His wife
in a church.
At a little church in Camden County, and the case was botched by the police and
the DA
and everything. It was just total railroad job of an innocent man, and
that guy's been in prison for
20-something years.
20 years at least, yeah.
And
Josh is the reason he got out.
Josh is the reason the man just got out.
Wrote an expose on it. Wow. And Doug, as a journalistic writer, will do.
Josh, let me tell you something real quick. Josh come to me before. I can say this now because it's out. While he was investigating this, he came to visit me because he would come to Waycross a lot while he was investigating it. And he was telling me names of people, and he was like, "No, you can't say, don't say any of these names because you never know what could happen."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, this is kind of crazy." And then I remember when the story actually broke, I was like, "Wow." Josh went through over 6,000 pages of documents himself, investigated, reading, and found inconsistencies and found wrong evidence and found missing evidence, and he put it all together, and then they got DNA. And I mean, long story short, this guy got out of prison because of it. And now they know who did it. And that's a whole nother case now. They know who did it.
Wow.
And that dude, another twist in the story, that guy's mother just passed away in Brantley County right after all this busted loose. And I haven't heard anything since then about that, but I haven't looked into it. I don't know what the deal was with that.
But there you go.
Crazy.
When you put your mind to it, you can learn the steel guitar, and you can break up in a murder case that has gone unsettled for
longer than you've been alive.
20 years. And Josh Sharp is the man of the hour.
It was the Eric Spar. Eric Spar was the guy that's guilty, that they know is guilty.
That is really good. Dennis something was the wrongly accused and the one who served all that time, while the true killer
what it was
out.
There was a pair of glasses left at the scene that had a hair in the hinge, and they never did anything with that until Josh got to investigating it, and then they did DNA.
Well, it was the alibi that Josh figured out that broke the case.
This is what's crazy is Josh got the mother to give DNA, the mother that recently died. Josh got her to give DNA, which connected her son, tied him to the whole thing.
Wow.
And then I don't know how yet, but she passed away recently. Crazy. Real crazy.
That's
the music.
Some cool stuff. No, that's some cool stuff. And we're real proud. We're real proud.
One more thing about Josh is Josh co-produced my first solo album, played steel on all of it, played some other instruments, accordion, mandolin, violin, co-wrote a couple songs.
The name of that album was Hauntings.
Yeah.
And we brought Josh up to Nashville to play on our first album.
Yeah.
And you can find that CD on CD Baby.
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
It's on Spotify.
Listen to it. Check it out, folks.
Jesse.
It's
some
titled
good stuff.
Jesse, Jesse.
There you go.
And the album is Hauntings.
There it is right there. And I got to sing on the song Hauntings.
Oh yeah,
I got to play drums on a couple.
Yeah.
It was really
Sean's playing guitar on a
full-
song on there. There's a bunch of my friends on there, so it's all
And
mixed up from
definitely
song
check
to
it out.
song.
Yeah.
If you don't know it by now, Waycross is a family.
It's a honey hole for music.
I'm working on a second one. It's been in the making for like 5 years now. I don't
My
know.
second one's
I've
been
lost
in the
count,
making
but
for 10 years.
Don't feel
It might
bad
be
'cause
longer, but it'll be out eventually.
my solo album has been in the making. I announced back in like 2013, I'm about to release a solo album this year. Years later.
Young ones.
Y'all, you're young. You make mistakes. Let's say it's been 10 years since I announced my last one.
Well, how about this, folks? Right now, we're going to take a break right after this, but right now, we're going to debut a new video / song. I think that's the 10th time we said slash, but by the Pine Box Dwellers. It's a cover of the Flying Burrito Brothers song Sin City. And we did the video. I recorded the video with me and my son and just my phone and going around with these guys and around town and stuff and getting Caution Light Media here, Justin, who's off shot of the camera, to mix it, edit it together. And this is the debut of it right now. We'll be right back. Check it out.
This old town is filled with sin. It'll swallow you in if you got some money to burn. Take it home right away. You got 3 years to pay, but Satan is waiting his turn. This old earthquake's gonna leave me in the poorhouse. It seems like this whole town's insane. On the 31st floor, a gold-plated door won't keep out the Lord's burning rain. The scientists say it'll all wash away, but we don't believe it anymore, because we got our recruits and our green mohair suits. So please show your ID at the door. This old earthquake's gonna leave me in the poorhouse. It seems like this whole town's insane. On the 31st floor, a gold-plated door won't keep out the Lord's burning rain. A friend came around, tried to clean up this town. His ideas made some people mad, yet he trusted his crowd, so he spoke right out loud. And they lost the best friend they had. This This old earthquake's gonna leave me in the poorhouse. It seems like this whole town's insane. On the 31st floor, a gold-plated door won't keep out the Lord's burning rain. On the 31st floor, a gold-plated door won't keep out the Lord's burning rain.
Welcome back, everybody. Something in the Water podcast. Now, that was an instant classic. Sin City by the Pine Box Dwellers. And the fact that it was recorded all here in Waycross kind of crosses over into the Graham Parsons wrote the song. Graham Parsons was from Waycross.
Yeah, we felt like, I mean, we know they wrote the song about L.A., but, you know, he's from Waycross, and we wanted to do a little nod because we're from Waycross, and we love the song and wanted to do something different with it.
Well, y'all did a good
We
job.
like to get a
with
little
that.
dark and swampy with most of the things we do anyways.
Especially Jesse.
Yeah.
He wears masks.
Dark and swampy.
You recorded all of that video was recorded on a cell phone. Is that right?
Yeah. I went around with each of the guys in the band and on my own and just videoed stuff. And took my son out and he videoed me because I couldn't hold the camera on some of that stuff. And just had a Blair Witch Project style, guerrilla style.
It was good. I like the black and
And I
white.
brought it to Justin at Caution Light Media and let him edit it up. And that's where we recorded the song as well. So
Cool.
yeah.
Caution Light Media, by the way, is the people that put together this podcast as well. So
Yeah, we couldn't do it without them.
recorded our last album.
Yep.
our hats off to Justin
yeah.
Mercer. Carried on, York.
Definitely.
Well, y'all got your instruments with you. What the?
Yeah.
Oh man,
That was magic.
I always got that thing on me.
All right. We'll do a song from Pine Box Dwellers for us right now.
This one called Set It Free. Hopefully it'll be on our new album.
There's something hiding there below these strings. Beneath this wood, there's some darker things. We can't pretend like we just don't see the scratch of the cat, the bark of the tree. Whoa, woe is me. I couldn't let it be. Keep on picking and it's gonna bleed her out of this cage. And then I set it free. A haunting melody could give you a fright, like abandoned skeletons led to the light, to drum out your past in rhythm and rhyme. 27 devils tap dancing in time. Whoa, woe is me. I couldn't help but see between these lines there's a whole lot of grief. But I rattled this cage and then I set it free to roam out on its own.
Yeah.
All right.
How'd you come about that song? What's the story behind that?
I had joined this Facebook songwriting group that will give you prompts every Monday, and it was put on by Abe Partridge. I didn't know at the time, but he's become a friend of ours from Alabama, singer-songwriter, artist, and I think, I mean,
Prompts, you know.
prompts. They
you'd be
would
just
give you.
like,
They would give you write a song with this in it,
oh, okay.
or about this every Monday, and they would choose different people to do the prompts. And I think that week it was "Led to the Light," and
So what was the line in the song?
I knew that was just an obvious song title, so my brain went, "I'm not going to make it an obvious song title. I'm just going to make it a line in the song." And the like abandoned skeletons led to the light was just I believe it's the third verse or something.
Cool.
Yeah, I wrote out of all those weekly songs, which is hard to write a song in a week. I mean, it's not. I mean, you can write a song in a day.
I know,
or an
I know
hour.
what you mean.
I've
But-
been in a writer's rut for years, so I'm jealous of that shit.
I love
Well,
it.
you know, you can be in a rut. You
But
know.
well, I mean, you can when you write a song. Usually, I mean, it don't take a week to write a song. But when you have to write a song
Yeah.
every week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you're like
Or
pushed
think
into
about this: the guys that punch in every day up
Yeah.
in
that- yeah.
Nashville that ride
Mhm.
every day. You know, they get you get conditioned to it. I think you know.
And I wish I had that on me right now, because it was like I kind of by the end of the week I was like, oh no,
I remember you.
I felt like
were
homework
writing-
was due and I needed to do something.
It wasn't just that song. There was several songs during that time
yeah.
you wrote that we really need to still work up as a band.
Mhm.
Some of them we did, some of them we didn't. But like really good songs that come out of you
No
doing
Good
that
For
thing
Me.
and forcing you
Yeah.
to write every
No
week.
Good For Me came out of there. Blood Ain't Thicker Than Whiskey came out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that one we just played Set Free. But there's like two or three more songs that I want to us to learn that I think could be worked up into something that came out of that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some more I remember, but we just haven't messed with them.
What was the B-side to Axle Grease? Wasn't that?
Oh yeah, that came out of there too.
Yeah.
Before They Laid Me in the Ground.
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an awesome song.
Mm-hmm.
Can you find these anywhere on
Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify?
Yeah, Before They Lay Me in the Ground is on the B side of
Axle Grease.
Axel Grease single. B side, but second track, whatever the kids say these days.
Speaking of Axle Grease and Gasoline, which was one of y'all's greatest songs, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to the Jack Halleck days.
Yep, yeah. But I remember we wrote a sequel to that.
Yeah.
Over at our house one evening, and there was a slew of people there.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't set out.
No,
to
we didn't
write,
set out to write a sequel.
But after we wrote it, we're like, "That's." It was actually a prequel. It was the prequel to.
Okay, yeah,
Axel
it
Grease.
was the prequel.
I mean, just the way the story ended up.
birthday parties or something.
It could have been. I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of people, and we got a big house.
Y'all are at the apartment, right?
We got our house, and then we have a mother-in-law suite attached to the house, which we call the apartment. And we were all wound up over there, and I think it was Corey Bradley and his wife at the time, and Ashton, and
y'all.
seemed like there were several people.
Charlie-
Wendy and Charlie
Yeah,
Thornton
Charlie
were
Thornton.
there, and they all ended up getting co-writing credits on this song.
Yeah.
Y'all do
'Cause,
that one.
you know,
do that one. It's-
Nashville rules. Not that
Yeah.
we're from Nashville, but if you're in the room,
those,
you wrote.
those are Elvis rules, right there.
Those are Elvis rules?
Yeah.
If you were in the room, then
If
you
you
get a
were in
right.
the room, you get a credit.
That shirt you were wearing made me think of this line. So
And back in the day, you could be a rich person for just being in the room.
Let's bring that back.
we wrote two
Those
songs.
days are
That,
gone.
Let's
we
bring
wrote
it
two
back.
songs at that party.
That's a song.
Yeah, we
in
did.
itself
Snake,
right there.
Yeah, the first one,
Truck Stop Snake.
Truck
Yeah,
Stop Snake
yeah.
was the second one, but the first one was Another Man.
Mm-hmm.
And Another Man, I had all the music. Like I had this riff and for over a year, and I'd written different songs to it, and I was like, this sucks. I couldn't ever find anything I knew it was just a simple rock and roll song. There didn't need to be any depth to it or anything, but I just couldn't make anything click with it. And I went over there to that party and I was like, look, I've got this, and help me. Because this needs to be something. And then we came up with this song, which I love. And that took us all night pretty much to do that one. And then out of a joke that my wife told about two people arguing, her friends, friendly argument, and just your mama this, your mama that. And one of them called the other one's mama truck stop snake. Your mama's a truck stop snake. And they were like just busted out laughing, like, what the hell's a truck stop snake?
So we made one. We made the definition.
Well, they were trying to say lot lizard, which is a lady of the night.
That sounds very close.
Yeah, it's like very close. But
semi-prostitute.
But I don't think that nobody ever said. I never heard anybody say truck stop
She hasn't
snake.
graduated to a lot lizard yet.
Yeah,
Hadn't
they
shed
grow
the skin.
Yeah, after a while, they grow legs.
No, I don't semi-prostitute. I don't mean half a prostitute. I mean a
That was some serial
prostitute.
killer stuff.
A prostitute who likes big trucks.
Yeah. What?
But anyhow, let's do that song.
What, truck stop snake or another man?
Another man.
Yeah.
Yeah, do Another Man. The prequel to
Yeah. Okay. So we decided this was the prequel because Axle Grease.
Axle Grease and
Axle Grease and Gasoline, because Axle Grease was the guy had lost the girl and he's going after her. He's going to try to find her. Well,
this is the story.
Yeah, we didn't plan on this,
before.
but this story was
The lead up.
and which is the girl leaving the guy,
Yeah.
hitchhiking down the road, just getting out of town.
Cool.
And then I was like, well, I didn't realize this is the prequel to Axle Grease. So anyway.
Pine Box Dwellers.
With a pedal to the middle in a Lincoln Continental. She had a lot of feeling, but it wasn't sentimental. There ain't a man alive worth losing your mind. She did what a miss, she's a leaving kind. She blew out his hands just like she told him. But a motor run hot machine scribbling a note on. She started hitchhiking up 84. Gonna leave behind a life she didn't want no more. Left the house, took the car, let her stand it in the yard, across the line, and the same go, find herself another man. Well, it didn't take her long before she seen the headlights of an Alabama trucker on a midnight ride. A little local haunted by the dashboard light. Well, it might have been wrong with a showbill ride. Well, the house to the car, let them stand it in the yard, cross the line, and the same go, find herself another man. With a pedal to the middle in a Lincoln Continental. She had a lot of feeling, but it wasn't sentimental. There ain't a man alive worth losing your mind. She did what a miss, she's a cheating kind.
Yeah.
Loud.
Oh, barn burner.
It is. It's a toe tapper. Oh, man.
That was fun.
That was
Yeah.
good stuff. It's just Pine Box Dwellers, ladies and gentlemen. From Waycross, Georgia.
That's right here.
That's right here.
That's over there.
Where we're sitting.
Right here.
Which kind of leads into my tale of the week this week. Excuse me.
Tale of the week is from the book Tales of the Week.
Yeah, this is my 2018 published novel. It's Tales of the Week from Dog Hill to Tripoli and back. I wrote some blogs, a weekly blog from probably about 2.5 years every week. And 25 of those blogs got published in a little paperback book. And I want to say that I'm very, very proud of that. Published by Achenbachen and Kent. And this week, though, I'm gonna read from one of the tales of the week that's not in the book. And I've said it before, but it bears repeating. Waycross, Georgia songwriters have a unique something that sets them apart. It's not that I think we're better than anyone else. I don't quite know what it is, but I can tell you when I hear it. Jimmy Stratton, the Nashville photographer, called it something in the water. Way back in the mid-'60s, Jimmy Walker, a local songwriter and the former manager of the Okefenokee Swamp Park, wrote and released Obadiah, a song about Obadiah Barber, the true-to-life king of the swamp, and we all marveled at the little 45 RPM record written by a man from Waycross. His musical buddy from Nashville, the legendary guitar player Chet Atkins, wrote the liner notes for Walker's accompanying album, Swamp Country, released on Swamper Records. Chet says, "One of the most colorful places in our country is the Okefenokee Swamp in Waycross, Georgia. And part of that color is a swamp rat by the name of Jimmy Walker. He's been a friend of mine for years and a handy man to have around during an alligator attack. Although his musical output was shortened due to his untimely death in 1973, Graham Parsons lived the first 12 years of his life in Waycross. Known in those days as Ingram Cecil Connor III, some of his songs bear the imagery of his childhood home, most noticeably Hickory Wind and A Song for You. Arguably his finest writing was in the late 60s with fellow Flying Burrito brother Chris Hillman as they prepared to go into the studio to record the landmark album Gilded Palace of Sin. Sin City, Wheels, and the painfully personal Hot Burrito #1 were ahead of their time, combining elements of country music and rock and roll and ushering in a sound that altered the musical landscape a few years later. The poignant $1,000 Wedding from Grievous Angel, his second and last solo album before he passed away, is a stunning piece of songwriting as he weaves autobiographical references of his own wedding that never happened to Nancy Ross, esoteric overtones pertaining to the drowning death of Rolling Stone Brian Jones, and childhood memories of Reverend William Brace, preacher at Waycross's Grace Episcopal Church, where Graham and his family attended Sunday services. After discovering the music of Parsons a mere 3 months before his untimely death, Waycross songwriter and Graham Parsons historian Billy Ray Herrin cracked open the door to the song publishing offices of Atlanta's Bill Lowry in the late 80s with 2 songs, Georgia's My Home and Special Friend. Billy Ray invited me to join him in co-writing, and we landed several more song publishing contracts with the Lowry Group in the years that followed. After Mr. Lowry's death in 2004, His diverse catalog, which included Young Love by Sonny James, Joe South's Walk a Mile in My Shoes, Mr. Moonlight, covered by the Beatles, I've Been Hurt, the Tams. All of those songs and many more were sold to Sony Tree Publishing in Nashville. Then again recently to a Los Angeles-based Bicycle Publishing Company, where mine and Billy Ray songs lie in waiting to be recorded by some unsuspecting artist, thereby making both of us rich beyond our dreams. They better hurry. A couple more Waycross songwriters gained entry into the offices of the Lowry Group after Billy Ray opened the door. Bill and John Randall Smith made it past the bottom floor entrance of Lowry's no-nonsense associate, Cotton Carrier, who screened the songs as they entered the building. If you could impress Cotton, you were sure to see the big man, Bill Lowry, in his upstairs office. Bill and John Smith did some Cotton impressing and landed publishing contracts on 4 of their originals: Sweet Tooth, Way Back Then, Fountain of Youth, and Hang In There. A decade had passed since our publishing successes with the Lowry organization, when yet a new generation of Waycross songwriting talent began to take hold. My nephew, Graham Griffin, Sean Clark, Billy Ray's son, Jesse Herrin, and my son, Connor Griffin, had been raised in the recording studios where we cut our song demos in the 90s. They had grown up listening to the sounds of Graham Parsons, Hank Sr., Neil Young, Dylan, and the Beatles. Now it was they who had something musically to say. Graham, Sean, and I were part of a Waycross songwriting project in 2003 that resulted in a dark, compelling Americana concept album, The Newfangler's Blood in the Pines, the story of Hollis Shepherd, based on a true story from the South featuring feuding families, wife beating, ass whipping, and murder. 2 years ago, or longer than that now actually, Jesse Herrin released a CD of his songs, aptly titled Hauntings. One listen, and you'll hear the Waycross sound. Connor invited me to a recording session at Full Moon Studio in Watkinsville, Georgia, where he was putting the finishing touches on There's Still a Light, the first song scheduled for his as-yet-to-be-released original debut CD featuring Athens steel guitarist John Neff. When this second generation of Griffins and Herrins aren't busy writing and recording, you'll find Connor on cajon and Jesse on bass guitar, along with lap steel and harmonica player Jody Parrott, rounding out the popular band, the Pine Box Dwellers, fronted by yet another Waycross singer-songwriter, Sean Clark. The group was voted by fans the 2018 Georgia Country Band of the Year on November 9th at a special celebration sponsored by GeorgiaCountry.com and hosted by the Crazy Bull nightclub in Macon, Georgia. Sean's songs invoke the very spirit of the Okefenokee. Dark and beautiful, desperate and lonely, visceral and sometimes menacing. His influences are the same as all who came before him. They spring forth from the roots of country, blues, and rock and roll. His music is Waycross Railroad trains and Okefenokee swamp water. I've tried to put my finger on what it is that makes Waycross songwriters and their songs so different. I defer to Sean Clark of the Pine Box Dwellers as he wails in his original Something in the Water. When that cold black water finds its way into your vein, you'll never be the same. When that cold black water finds its way across through your vein, it just might seal your fate. And that's these boys right here, folks, the Pine Box Dwellers.
All right.
Oh, man.
It was awesome, Dave.
Yeah, well, y'all are awesome yourselves. I mean, this is the fruits of the labor right here. That I don't know who started it all in Waycross. I mean, I'm talking about several people that go way back, but I think Graham Parsons, to me, was the most important. I mean, he went the furthest and
Influenced a lot of
influenced so many worldwide.
branches coming off of him.
I think it has more to do with that than anything. I think he's the root. And y'all are just y'all are branches on the tree. And,
Twigs, little tiny twigs.
No, y'all ain't no tiny twigs. I'll tell you that. Y'all gonna be.
I ain't no tiny twig.
Jesse's a pine cone.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of another Something in the Water podcast. We do appreciate y'all tuning in, and
Yes, sir.
we hope that you'll like us and subscribe to us, rate and review us, and
Yes.
and
Share it with your mama and them.
your mom and them, get them to watch. Once again, I'd like to thank. Well, Sean's a co-host all the time, but I want to thank him especially, and Jesse Herrin and my son Connor Griffin of the Pine Box Dwellers for being our guest tonight. We'll see you the next time.
Thank y'all for having me.
Oh, yeah.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.